Welcome to Day 3 of the Mineral Resources Review 2025. Today's Thought Leadership is sponsored by WSP and brought to you by Gale Force Winds. Joining me this afternoon is Ashley Fitzpatrick with the Atlantic Business magazine that is well known throughout our province and actually Atlantic Canada.
Yeah, we have a pretty wide reach.
You do. So Ashley, take a moment, introduce yourself, what your role is with Atlantic Business magazine.
Yeah, so I'm the staff writer with Atlantic Business, and I am basically the reporter on staff, but the magazine does work with journalists all around Atlantic Canada, and it's got a fair roster, in fact. The magazine is published every other month and delves into the issues that tend to come up sort of time and again in daily news. So, you know, for instance, when we're talking about the world of mining and resources, in the fall we always feature resources as part of the issue in the fall, and really start to zone in on those things that have come up repeatedly as, you know, problems, hurdles, question marks that people have, you know, basically the barriers to doing business in very particular areas of the sector. So, yeah.
Amazing. I know I have followed Atlantic Business magazine for a number of years. Aside from, you know, the articles that you guys focus on, I know you do a couple of great events as well. The Top 50 CEO is a fantastic event. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know you're a staff writer.
I'm in that hard line between the business and the journalism world, but the whole crew at Atlantic Business, they really put their heart and souls into the Top 50 in particular. The Top 50 CEOs is a marquee event they do once a year and really celebrates that, I think the grit that it, you know, a lot of business owners, small, medium-sized enterprises in particular, don't always get recognized in the way that they should, I think, and I really do love that the magazine takes the time every year to highlight those people who have made great strides, who have been really also champions in their particular areas of business. You know, it's not always the case where people feel the love of the business community in a meaningful way, and that's one of those events that really does it.
And they do a beautiful job. I've been to a couple of them, and they're beautiful.
It's always nice to get dressed up for a nice event.
It is indeed. So what does events like the Mineral Resource Review, what does that mean to Atlantic Business magazine?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's for myself, I know it's been a big part of informing me through the years of, you know, what's really been going on with companies, in particular as they're going through the grind of, you know, going out to do exploration, you know, gathering up that bit of money and sort of ecking their way through bit by bit to get to where they need to be for that larger stage investment, and getting a sense of also, as they're looking to their next stage, you know, what they're going to need to get there that might not be monetary but might be sort of a policy or a regulatory piece. You're seeing that come up quite a bit, and also in terms of things like Indigenous relations and community support. I think it's really a catch-all for so much in the way of conversations that need to happen in order for the business to happen, and it kind of comes together here in a way that it you know, doesn't anywhere else, really.
Yeah. And I know you folks are present at a lot of these events. I saw Tonya here yesterday, and Steve, I believe, was here yesterday. So I guess for you folks to get out and meet potential clients and potential stories, you know, and you said there's a publication put out every second month?
Every second month, and we've also, you know, it's not just the hard copies, although you'll see those in your shoppers and your corner stores, but you see it also online, and that's where we're getting a lot of traction nowadays. Of course, like everybody, you know, you have to be in the online world, and there's a lot more features that are happening for us in that space. And we've also just launched a podcast, and that's start to a whole new section of work for us, but we're excited about it all the same.
Okay, I did not know this. That's pretty new.
Only just this week, actually.
Oh, wow. So who's hosting your podcast?
So Don Chafe, who is a co-owner of the magazine, and everybody I think in the business world locally would know Don. Yeah, she's doing a fantastic job.
Wonderful, wonderful. You know, I love digital, but I still love hard copy magazine.
Yeah.
I remember the days when these were always on all the PAL flights.
Yeah.
and when I would travel back and forth from Labrador many years ago. And I absolutely loved reading, and you know, the magazine, and it covered Newfoundland and Labrador, but it also covered the Atlantic provinces. So you know, I like that it has, you know, that lens.
And I think one of the things that you do get, you know, when you come offline and maybe pick up something like a magazine or newspaper, is you do get that kind of gut check on maybe you've been stuck in your own algorithm and you're getting a lot of content that's very geared towards what people believe you need to see or hear. And it's really an opportunity to get exposed to some things that maybe you weren't aware of but could tie into your own business, or could tie into your thinking around a particular issue. And give you some insight into maybe a new way to lobby on that particular issue or you know, moment, or a new way to make a connection in business. So it's nice, yeah, to have.
So Ashley, have you always been in journalism and in writing?
I have, for my working career, I went to the University of King's College in Halifax, and immediately took the first job that I could get back in Newfoundland and Labrador, because I knew I wanted to work at home. And that was at a very small paper. I was in Deer Lake on Main Street, and with one other person who was very shortly laid off thereafter. And I was the Deer Lake Bureau for the Western Star. I like the Deer Lake Bureau. That's always a nice little plug. But I was there for about a year, and then I got called into the Telegram in St. John's and spent about 10 years into the Telegram, and a lot of my focus in there was resources, was business. So that's kind of where I laid the foundation, I think, for what I'm doing today, and it's really carried me through, you know.
And how long have you been with Atlantic Business Magazine?
About 5 years now, actually. Yeah, so it's been a little while. We have been developing, I think, a really good sense of what we can be doing with the magazine, and more importantly, how we can be creating stories that come to really connect with people and drive them forward in the sense of, you know, trying to bring together some sense of what might come up again in their day-to-day, but they may not recognize in a broader sense, you know. So see those umbrellas, see those catch-alls, see those bigger hurdles that could be addressed, you know, through whether it's a government regulatory change or you know, a new form of tax credit or a new investment, that, you know, suddenly everybody in a certain area who's been facing similar hurdles can see movement, right? That's kind of what we're looking for.
So Ashley, you know, it takes a lot, I mean, to put together a magazine, and to think that you put it out every second month. So, you know, how do you come up with all of the stories, and, you know, how do you...
Oh, wow. Well, I think the number one was our fearless leader, Dawn Schaaf, and then her and Tonya together are a really amazing team. But we've got a group of people who regularly connect with Dawn and have an interest in Atlantic Canadian business in a way that you know, not every journalist necessarily does. You know, if you're just kind of in the daily grind, business might not be your cup of tea. But these folks are all very geared towards seeing the connections between business and advancement of the community overall.
Nice.
And so we're always kind of ear to the ground for what we could pitch to Dawn. And then Dawn takes in all of our pitches and ways kind of where she's had an idea of where to go for that particular issue, and starts to develop you know, the exact layout of what the stories will be that she'll assign. And then we go through the process of our reporting and come back to her, and some things succeed and sometimes they just don't come together, but at the end of the day we end up with a full collection.
Well, you always pull it off. It's always a great magazine with amazing stories, definitely showcasing Atlantic Canadian businesses and projects and things that are happening. So well done, and thank you so much for your time, Ash.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure
to
hear a little bit about behind the scenes and you know, the writing and what goes into, you know, making this magazine such a success.
Thank you.
Thank you.